Lord, I just need a friend to hold my hand. Tell me I'll be okay. Will I be okay? Oh, my love, I'm real, and my soul is pure. What more shall I witness? How much more can I endure? Your light was once inside. Where does it hide?
Hey kid, we're recording again. We are. What, you don't want to record? I feel an anxiety about this episode. And why is that? I might have kind of seen a little bit of your ghost notes. Oh, you've been looking at my ghost notes. You left them on the table of your mind, or at least on your side of the desk. 4:33 a.m. Friday, May 22nd, 2026. Hey kid, yeah, 33 seconds in. Let's go. Oh, what do you have on the screen? Oh, when you start a pod with a quote like that, you're about to stick it to someone, aren't you? Yeah. And I feel like when we do that, or when I do that, who are you? Who are you? Well, let me get a drink. The burpees. and sit back and listen to your rant. If they don't know whoever they is who's talking now, they need to pay attention. So remember, folks, we always look at this on the lit, the meta, and, well, we leave a space for the lit meta. That's where you come into play. So, yeah, I have a feeling that I don't want to say stick it to, you're totally going to stick it to someone. I am. Let's just say someone, one of these things does not belong. We'll get to that in a second. Oh, kid. But there's going to be some splatter back at ourselves because, let's just say, just get to it. Okay. A lot of tabs, but we're, eventually, we have a lot to talk about. Yeah. We previewed that in episode 1. What did you think about it? I really loved it. I'm very excited about this. Hey, boys. Hey. What? Hey, ad lady. Good morning. Hey, good morning, girl. What? Real quick. It's never real quick, but that's okay. You bring a beautiful kind of another dimension to our conversation. Go ahead. What? I mean, I do my thing. Advertising always tells the truth. It does. No, it doesn't. But what underlies the, false advertising, which is all of advertising, there's always, when you say it with your chest, advertising is big and bold, and we come out and say it and make you believe it because we don't really believe it, and we kind of, we just kind of go with it. And then when the message changes, we still come out and say it with our chest. I love where you're going here. I know. I saw your ghost notes too. You got to keep your notes in your pants, so to speak. Don't be flapping around that big Z. What? Hey, big boy. Oh God, this is already going off the rails. It is. Advertising knows exactly what you're about to say. Saying it with your chest. In other words, being confident about what you believe in. There's nothing wrong with that until there's something wrong with it. In other words, when you have to come out and kind of admit you were wrong, that's a marketing thing. Advertising doesn't ever admit they were wrong. They just admit that they spent all the money and got your message out. And then they ask for more money. And then we need to get the new message out and kind of forget the other one. Sounds a lot like physics. Yeah. Right, Mr. Carroll? Oh boy, you did read my ghost notes. I saw some of them. But real quick, there's nothing wrong with saying something with your chest and believing it with all you've got. I mean, that's religion too. I mean, let's be honest. And it's just about being, flexible and moldable and something analogy with clay. Never allow yourself to harden. But also never allow everyone's hands to be all over. Well, you can have their hands all over you. I mean, oh my God, this is great. I'm sorry. In other words, stay flexible and moldable, but strong enough where you could hold something within you or something. Oh my God. Oh, girl. But don't let someone constantly mold you and let other hands kind of define who you are. Just be yourself, be confident about it, say it with your chest, but don't be so inflexible that, you can't change and be malleable or something. Listen, boys, you're going to do a great thing here in this episode. I understand you really want to stick it to someone, right, Mr. Carroll? But be careful, because in sticking it to this guy, you might be sticking it to yourself. And be careful when you stick things to yourself. Oh, God. Because it's not magnetic. It becomes glue, and you don't want it to, have to rip it back off of yourself. I'm confused. I know, Meta, you are, but you won't be, because Lit is about to kind of lay it out here. Just be honest, and that H thing. What's that? Hubris. Oh, I thought you meant honesty. No, don't be pointing your hubris at this guy, even though he's very hubristic. And ignore your own hubris, because sometimes you can be a little, flapping that big Z around. Oh, I'll be with you in a second, big boy. Hey, MAGA guy. Hey, guys. This is fun. Hey, you're up early. I am. Company. Yeah, you got to go to work. Yeah, you work hard. You're a great guy. Listen, I've got to go. My boy's taking me out for breakfast. So just be careful in what you do here, but don't hold back. Be yourself. But understand that we all kind of sometimes say things with our chest and we believe them. Remember, why do you believe? Because you want to. But sometimes our beliefs can change. And that's the point. Don't stick it to this guy too much because he believes in something that might be completely wrong. But he thinks he's got evidence and proof and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But even he's leaving space, even a little tiny little thing space inside of his brain, that just in case he's wrong. And you're going to cover that in a second. I am. Well, good luck, boys. I'll be listening. Gotta go. Bye. Let's go to breakfast, big boy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that was. I do. But, okay. So, oh boy, just get with it. We've got a lot to talk about, man. We've got so much in this series. That might go long, giggity. Oh boy. Anyone get no. Yeah. So, we're going to talk about, reality. It's the reality of things. And there's so much we got to cover. It's photosynthesis and consciousness. We got to talk about the N value and NRG. We've got to talk about, my escape room hollow cube theory. What? The what? I thought it was a hollow box. I love the idea of the cube, but the hollow box, by the way, real quick. Oh, we're really going long on this intro. We are. I can't call it the hollow box theory because we had kind of invented a pseudo invention of something called the hollow box about a year ago, where I envisioned the future of television being going back in time, but with kind of new, just get to it. Okay. You know how there's the tube TV from the 80s that we used to sit in front of and watch things like, I don't know, Spaceballs and stuff on a VHS tape. Oh boy, holy boomer. Yeah. And the way, real quick, for anyone that's listening, wondering when we're going to get to it, we will, 8:18 in. This is important. Ish. The old tube televisions, the CRT or whatever the hell, cathode ray tubes or whatever, of the 80s, 70s and 80s, the way the television worked, and do you remember? Oh, of course I do. I remember sitting in front of it many times. It had a little static thing on the front of it. Yeah. And basically what it did, long story short, you could, consult your creepy friend that's always watching, Google, or any one of your annoying friends that will rule the world eventually, that think they know everything, AI. And find out how a cathode ray tube or whatever CRT tube TV worked in the 80s. Essentially, it painted a picture on the screen using electromagnetic fields and pixels that emanated red, green, blue. And it literally painted a picture on the screen, on the 2D screen. Using this kind of thing going back and forth and line by line painting the picture. Well, I envisioned a system where we replace the cathode ray tube. I think I'm saying that right. You might be. The tube with like like a plasma gas or some sort of gas inside a cube that was visible from all angles, or for most of it. You can't see it from the top or the bottom. And then there were like poles that held the whole thing up. So you could kind of almost see it from 360. And instead of painting a picture on a two-dimensional surface, it was a bunch of two-dimensional surfaces lined up, like a bunch of like membranes, right? Going within the cube in 3 dimensions when you put it all together. Just imagine a flip book where you've got the whole, like, but it's all in one. You could see through it from every angle, and it's painting the picture in 3 dimensions. And I thought, through light and then emanating electricity through the gas and whatever, there's a way to do it with magnets and so forth, where you could create a picture instead of a 2-dimensional surface that looks 3D. You could have a bunch of 2-dimensional within a 3-dimension, whatever, hollow box one day. So the idea, that's why I can't do the escape room hollow box theory. So I did hollow cube. We'll get to that another time. It's somewhere in here. I've got the picture for it. But all right, let's get to it. Beware of overconfidence, especially in matters of structure. Thanks, Cass Gilbert. Who the hell was that? An architect. Basically, what he was saying here was, measure twice, cut once, kind of, but for architecture. In other words, don't be so confident in what you're doing that you kind of mistake 1111 in hubris for balance when it comes to architecture. And I take this and I throw it to physicians, and I say, those who practice physics, and I say, don't be so overconfident that you miss the basic structure of your argument and the fact that there's always a little room for error, and you're covering it up with your hubris. I stuttered, you did. Because you claim that you know everything and no one knows it and blah, blah, blah. Just get to it. Okay. Oh, that's hilarious. Read that. A physicist is just an atom's way of looking at itself. Niels Bohr. Oh my God. Yeah. I'll play on the whole idea of man is just God's way of looking, the universe looking at itself. It's so brilliant, and it pokes fun at just the whole thing. It's such a brilliant quote. What's this? Read it. Read what? Okay. Let me set it up. In Star Wars Return of the Jedi, this is the third. So you got one quote for overconfidence. You got this kind of, it has little, on the meta, it talks a little bit for physicists and physicians for overconfidence, if you know what I'm talking about here. And then as if, forget it, move on. Okay. And then this is kind of on the meta. In Return of the Jedi, our favorite Star Wars movie. Yeah, at least it's mine. It is. Luke Skywalker in the kind of the penultimate moment. That's your favorite word. It is. The important moment in the Death Star. And he's brought to the Emperor. And the Emperor basically, he's all knowing. He kind of knows he's got the plan. He's already kind of mapped it all out. He knows exactly how he's foreseen it, right? I have foreseen it, or something, right? And he will come to me. I have foreseen it, basically. Yet he couldn't foresee that freaking this guy was going to throw him over. Yeah, he's going to throw him over the fucking side of the, into a huge hole. Yeah, you didn't foresee that because you were so fucking hubristic. You had so much overconfidence in your plan that you didn't have that. Oh, I see what you're doing here. Yeah, you couldn't foresee that one little thing of this guy, Luke, basically being a badass to you and just not succumbing to his friends being, just say the quote. Okay. Basically it says, Luke goes, your overconfidence is your weakness. Your faith in your friends is yours. Yeah, I tried. And then he proceeds to show his friends dying. Because he opens up the thing and he shows them, look, they're getting fucking annihilated. They're going into a trap, right? And he thought maybe by showing them that, as he had foreseen it and kind of, I'm lost already. You won't be. He had already envisioned the whole thing. He figured it all out. He had covered all the stops, except for one thing. That he was focusing in on Luke, the main protagonist. He forgot this guy, Darth Vader, had that one little ion inside him, that one little atom that refused to go along with the rest of them. Something inside of him, after he saw this guy push back on this guy and stand his ground and say, fuck you, no, I'm not going to turn. Fuck you. As a matter of fact, yeah, I'll fight this motherfucker, but then I'm not even going to kill him because you thought I was going to kill him. You thought either I was going to kill you and then you'd kill me and then, hey, well, it didn't work, I'll keep this guy. Or you thought I would, like, you never saw that I would just surrender and throw my lightsaber down. And this guy would go, holy shit, he's right, and then throw you over the thing. Like, you never saw that coming. And that was your downfall. You thought you had it all planned out. Well, no kid. I watched an interesting, it was about an hour and 22 minutes long. The Nature of Reality, a dialogue between a Buddhist scholar, this gentleman here, and a theoretical physicist, Sean Carroll, this guy here. This is Alan Watts, not quite, but I see why you went there. Alan Wallace. This is Marcelo Gleiser, kind of like the guy that was hosting it. Interesting guy. I want to find out more about him. I didn't hear enough about him. And Sean Carroll. We've seen this guy before. We have. So real quick. Very confident guy. A little too confident. Yeah, I was listening to. Yeah, this guy's a little cocky. But we kind of like that. Yeah, we do. I admire, again, say it with your chest. Don't just fucking speak it. Be it. And well, even this guy, in talking on stage, I mean, it was they didn't go at it. And I'm not big for debates. Whatever, who cares? Debates. This gentleman had a very beautiful kind of like, hey, he said something here. It was interesting. You're convoluting. Okay, I'll get right to it. They're trying to understand reality. He's taken it from, hey, consciousness, I said it, I stuttered twice, matters. This guy's not saying that it doesn't matter. He's just saying it's all deterministic. It's all atoms and materials. It's all pre-programmed. You know, it's kind of like the emperor here. Like, you could figure it all out. We've mapped out all the atoms and the neurons in the brain, and everything could be explained by a physical process. There's no magical, force that underlies everything. Just not, because what was the magical force here? Love. Kid, I love you for saying that. You went right to it. I did. He did not foresee the love that this guy had for him. That was his downfall. He thought that he was completely cold. The audience was even set up for this because he says, he goes, it's too late for me, son. In that moment where he gives him to the emperor, where he basically says, I know there's good in you. I can feel it or something. And Darth Vader's like, no, son, it's too late for me. And he felt that. And he's like, I got him. This guy's role is set up. It's just a matter of turning this guy. He never saw that Vader eventually would have that one little atom inside of him of love. Still alive, somewhere inside that cold machine, that predictable. Oh my God, I see how you're setting this up. Don't step on it, kid. He didn't think that there was even one iota of love in this guy. He was a cold-hearted machine. And his conversation with Luke, which he had foreseen and he had seen, somehow he got it. He realized, he's completely cold and it's over. I could now use him to either turn him or kill him. He did not foresee that what Luke was saying was correct. That there still was love in him. Even one tiny bit, a tiny one atom of love. It's all it takes to multiply. And when he was force lightning the fuck out of this guy, and he said a line that can make me get emotional. Father, please. Father, please. Like one last plea to this guy. I know it's in you. I'm dying. Help me. And he does it. That atom multiplies. So much so that he just goes, no. It's like he wakes up. And he throws this guy over the side. Tell me, Sean Carroll, I know that's a fictional story. Where did that love reside? As a matter of fact, where in your deterministic universe does love find itself? Is it in the atom? Is it in the neuron? Where is love, kid? Because y'all had a great back and forth about consciousness. And you still agree, yeah, consciousness, yeah, it's determinist, it's not emergent, yeah, the big fucking, the way physicians like this gentleman, they eke their way out of a conversation. Yeah, it's an emergent property, meaning we have no fucking clue. And we're going to stick to our guns about determinism and materialism and acknowledge that consciousness exists. I mean, fuck, the only proof anyone needed that consciousness exists was the fact that these guys are debating about it. Hey, Descartes, you have anything to say about that? Ah, there you are. Yeah, I watched it. It was great. Yeah. Keep going, kids. Yeah, thanks. The very fact that this guy could push back and claim that, he made a claim that I was like, this motherfucker, that when you die, nothing happens. Oh, that's it? So you're claiming that it's all this magnificent complexity of structure and math and it's all atoms and easily explained or eventually explained chemical reactions of blah, blah, blah. It's so complex and so beautiful, yet it's all for one shot. You get one shot at it. Really? One shot. I mean, what a beautiful, complex game, and you get one chance at it. Does that make sense, kid? Oh, hell no. I'd want to play the game over and over again until I beat it. Exactly. Great job. And this gentleman makes a beautiful point because halfway through, Marcelo says something along the lines of, and he calls him out on it, Alan, great job. Speaking of how, no, he says something along the lines of, we haven't found out what consciousness, we can't link the hard problem with consciousness. We can't figure it out. So because we can't figure it out, nobody knows. A bunch of, and this guy calls him out and literally says it, like a bunch of white men who think they know better, a bunch of fucking like emperors who have come together and try to figure this problem. They can't figure it out. So nobody on earth can figure it out. And he's like, have you talked to the far, Asian people? Have you talked to people in Africa? Have you talked to, people from North and Central and South America? So because a bunch of white men and their peers who think they know everything can't figure out the hard problem of consciousness, no one knows it. That, by definition, is hubris. That's overconfidence. And Alan says, there's people that most likely have figured it out. And they might be living now or 5,000 years ago, because we've got so many texts, right? Like the Hermetic texts and all these things, the Hermetic principles and blah, and all the geometry and all this stuff. But yet you guys ignore all that because of all your fancy equipment and all your fancy conventions when you came together and talked about it as a bunch of white stuffy men. And yeah, I'm going there because this guy did, and he's right. Sometimes the truth is right in front of you, whether you want to ignore it or not. Sorry, MAGA. Huh? And not you, MAGA guy. Oh, okay. But kind of you. Oh, yeah. Where you think you know everything, you don't. Just get to it. Okay. So essentially, this guy claims in his deterministic, or he calls it something else, point of view, that it's all figured out. There's nothing else. Consciousness is just an emergent property based on, we haven't figured it out yet. We will. And we'll tie it directly to the mass and all this stuff. And we'll explain it, blah, blah, blah. And when you die, nothing happens. You're dead. You're dead. It's gone. Bye-bye. And I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck do you know? Because at the end of the day, kid, and I'll end this segment like this. I'm not saying this guy's right. He comes at it from a very intelligent. I think they might be all PhDs. Hey, Marcel, are you a PhD? If not, you should be. You're pretty smart. And he comes from a Buddhist point of view, but he wasn't spewing all Buddhism. He was basically saying, like, look, he even did a thing where for 10 seconds he had everybody stay still and quiet their mind. I did it along with him, and boy, did it feel interesting. It did. I did it too. What did you feel? I felt a disconnected connectedness. I love how you said that. Say it again. A disconnected connectiveness. It kind of, for 10 seconds, exactly proved. In 10 seconds, he could have proved his point. He could have ignored all the stuff that he'd written down, and he had to take his glasses out to read. And he could have just stood up there and said, oh, give me 10 seconds and I'll prove my point, and this guy will be destroyed forever. You ready? 10 seconds. Quiet your mind. Don't think of anything. Just focus on nothing for 10 seconds. Go. And pretend it was 10 seconds. That's all he needed to do. Because it destroys this. How so? If everything's always moving and energy is always kind of doing its thing, and everything is resonance and energy and vibration and chemical processes, how do you create stillness and disconnection? Tell me, Sean Carroll, how do you do that? How does an atom disconnect from itself? How does energy that's always constantly moving stop moving? Well, it can't. It can't. So consciousness cannot be something material if you could disconnect. Or it's something that's not emergent. It's in another dimension. You stuttered. I did. In other words, in 10 seconds, he proved his point. He didn't have to say anything else. You cannot explain what happened in those 10 seconds, Sean Carroll. Go back and listen to it. But yet, in your hubris, you thought, well, I could explain everything. I'm smart. I'm a physician. Until, well, the rules change and then we have to change with it, kind of like what advertising said before, advertising lady. And then you just kind of change your game and kind of, go along with it, and you stay confident. No, it wasn't that we were wrong. We just found out some new evidence, new data, and we adjusted to it. We evolved. That's the way physicians are never wrong. And since physics hasn't done anything worth a damn in like 80 years, they haven't had a moment where they had to be fucking wrong and they had to rewrite laws and admit it. So this guy has spent most of his life being right, and he doesn't know what it's like being wrong and have to adjust. Maybe little things he's adjusted, but big major concepts that he built his entire, like as if this chair just fell out from under him. Because this chair, essentially, if you want to take materialism, kid, is your belief system, your conviction, and all your dogma. If all of a sudden this fucking chair disappeared and you fell on your fucking ass, what are you going to say? You're going to have to make an adjustment, quite an adjustment. And you haven't had that moment yet in your life because physics hasn't had that catastrophic moment of shaking it to its core yet, at least for a long, long time. It's coming soon. And this guy might help usher it in. And maybe someone else. Who knows? But real quick, I ask, is Sean Carroll a determinist? He's a materialist and compatibilist. He's a great guy who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, but he makes you think he knows what the fuck he's talking about. I think you're being hubristic. I am. This is exactly what Ad Lady was. I'm starting to sound like this guy. He knows what he's talking about, but he's missing something. He's not admitting it, but he's kind of admitting it, but he's kind of trying to talk his way out of it, which is kind of what Alan said. We can't talk our way out of this. You can't talk your way out of the 10 seconds of silence and disconnection from consciousness. You can't talk your way out of it. You can't talk your way out of something that has nothing to do with words. Tell him, my friend, the unspoken word. You cannot quantify it because it's not meant to be quantified. We'll get to that in a second. Fundamental determinism. He believes that all everyday macroscopic actions are governed by the underlying laws of physics. Everything, your whole reality is determined by laws. Just like society. What can go wrong, kid? If physics can work with laws, why doesn't our society not work with laws? I'll wait. Go ahead. Laws are easy. You can't defy laws in nature, really. Thanks, kid. At the level of that was funny. It is. Thanks, my crow friends. Always there to punctuate a point from the beyond. At the level of particle interactions, there is no room for outside forces interfering with these laws. Nothing at all. There's no room for outside force in my plan. I've determined it. It's all deterministic. Oh, I see. Yeah, I figured it all out. There's no outside force like love that will destroy. Oh, that's so brilliant now. Thanks, kid. Don't step on this. Sorry. There's no outside force that will break up what I've already foreseen and planned, and everything makes sense. Oh, love is, and it fucks me in the end because this guy just love all of a sudden comes back, pops into his tin can of a fucking ass, his asthmatic ass. All of a sudden remembers what love is and throws me over the side and saves his son. Oh, where did that come from? Tell me, Sean. Well, that's fiction. You're not understanding what I'm saying, kid. And he talks about, the view of compatibilism. It contends that viewing people as rational agents who make decisions is practically useful. Practically. In other words, yeah, I'll acknowledge it, but it's not really what this is all about. In other words, the stage that this play is on is what really makes the play, not the play. The stage does. And all the costumes, that's more important. That's what's determining the whole thing. Your argument's weak there. Or your analogy. In other words, there's nothing, it's not the moment of the drama, the moment of the gasp of when you realize someone turns, right? That the arc, that sadness or that joy, none of that matters. It's all deterministic. It's all, it's scientifically valid at the human scale, but really it's just still entirely consistent with the laws of physics. It's all explainable. There's no magic there. Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, whatever, kid. Fuck off in the most beautiful way. By the way, determinism, what is it? Yeah, please tell me. We'll read it. The philosophical and scientific doctrine that all events, including human decisions and actions, even in a fictional setting, are inevitable result of preceding events and the laws of nature. Tell me, my Star Wars friends, did you see this coming? Even George Lucas buried it. There's no way you saw this coming, this moment. It's one of the most brilliant and underrated moments of Star Wars. I stuttered, so you know it's true. Nothing led up to that. He even kind of did the bait and switch in that moment where he comes off the AT-AT in that little room thing, that kind of perch, where he basically says to Luke, it's too late for me. It's over. Sorry. No, it ain't going to happen, kid. You're going to meet him and he's going to turn you or you're going to die. Those are the only options, kid. Sorry. Oh, there's not a third option, love, where you kill him? Oh, yeah, because I've foreseen that. He literally tells him, I've foreseen it. That's not how the laws of Star Wars work. Oh, really? So Star Wars, much like life, is deterministic? There's only two paths, binary? No, there's a third. On the end level, the end plane, up high, if you see the triangle here. There's the spiritual plane where love lies. And that's going to swoop in and change the equation here. Essentially take the fucking chair from under the emperor's fucking perch and have him fall on his ass. Now y'all see it. A specific present state of the universe. There's only one possible way. Only one possible way. I have foreseen it. There's only one possible way. Oh, okay. By the way, was Niels Bohr a determinist? The guy from the beginning. Yeah. No, he wasn't. Because he was essential in something called the Copenhagen interpretation, where he rejected the classical cause and effect view of reality. The binary reality. In other words, everything is this or that. That's it. But you say that life is this or that. It is. Life, the game, is binary. 0, 1, 1, 0. And that's kind of where this guy is right. But the thing is, life is also an allegory. A movie, a tale, a story. And the allegory has a third component. You could put a lot of things in there, but it's love. And the derivations are derivatives of love. You could say hate, loathing, joy, passion, whatever. And that is the flavor on top of the equation, the 0 and 1. It's the qubit. It's the possibility. It's the state of the unknown. It's everything and nothing at once. It's what is in between the 0 and the 1. All the rest of the pure energy that makes it 0 or 1, 1 or 0. I'm lost. You're not. He rejected this. And that's why this is so funny. Because a physicist is just an atom's weight. In other words, going back to the atom, as if the atom which the physicist is technically made of, was only created by the atom for the physicist to look. In other words, fuck your life, fuck your tale, your story, your love. You're just there as a mirror for me, the unconscious tiniest little building block of existence, to just see myself. That's it. Do you see the bleeding sarcasm in this? If not, this is one of the most brilliant quotes I've ever heard. Because built into this is a fuck you to every determinist, like Sean Carroll, in the most brilliant way possible. If y'all don't know what I'm saying here, read it again until until it smacks you in the face, with kind of like how this emperor got smacked in the face. You were brilliant, kid. God bless you. What's that? Oh, why does water boil at 212 degrees Fahrenheit? Because there was a deterministic thing where, here it is. Somewhere in here, this guy talks about, and a lot of physicians who are determinists, this guy's a closet determinist. That's like when someone says they're a libertarian, but they're really a closet Republican. This guy being a probabilistic or cannibalist, whatever the fuck, is him being kind of saying, like in politics, where I'm a libertarian, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. Yeah, you're just someone who you're not in the middle, but you're trying to fake it that you're in the middle or you're something else, and you're really just a Republican. This guy really is a determinist, even if he tries to make himself probabilistic or whatever the fuck, cannibalistic, I don't know, whatever the fuck he's saying, compatibilistic. He's a determinist, let's be honest. He's just trying to cover it up so he doesn't seem so like closed-minded. Too late, kid. I saw through you. And in it, a lot of determinists talk about how they acknowledge consciousness, and they talk about how, temperature. And they say, define what hot is, what cold is. It's all kind of like a scale, and what you think is cold and I think is cold is kind of unique to ourselves. But it's kind of like the middle ground. Now I'm really lost. But the reason why I brought this up with the temperature is, even then, when you're referencing temperature, kind of back up your hide your shitty deterministic view and acknowledge consciousness and the varying degrees of perception and stuff, like with temperature. Even with temperature, there's a definitive point where it boils and where it freezes. So don't give me this bullshit that it's straight perception, because on a scale, there's a moment at only 212 does it boil, unless, well, you're on top of Mount Everest or something, the pressure changes. But and at 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit, under normal pressure, atmospheric pressure, it freezes. Water or the air, whatever. It gets fucking cold as fuck. So there are points in that temperature scale that are definitive that no one could disagree with. So in other words, it's kind of a blend of both, kid. You're saying it's only your way. He's not really saying it's only his way, because he's a Buddhist. He would never say that, but he kind of is. There's a blend between the three of you, really. And I think this guy is more like this guy, but he's really... He wants to believe this, but he needs more proof. And I think the most beautiful proof that all three of these will get is at the end of their lives. I'll end on this. Bye-bye determinism. Bye-bye degrees. Oh, doesn't quantum physics poke a universe-sized hole into determinism? Not exactly. Because think about what quantum physics is, kid. Quantum physics, basically, it's showing you that there's an energy field that could collapse like a wave function. Kind of think of an ocean of energy throughout the whole universe, everything, of waves going back and forth, that kind of collapse into reality, or what we consider reality. Like Schrodinger, which we love to use. Oh yeah, the cat thing? Yeah, the cat thing. The cat in the box. That the cat is either dead or alive at the same time until the cat is both dead and alive until it's held in a state of kind of flux, for lack of a better word, a suspended state of animation, which is the best way to say it for me, an artist. It doesn't fully render. The render does not complete until you open the box and find out. And then it collapses. Well, quantum physics right there should poke a hole into this guy's thing, that it's deterministic, that it's all, you could figure it out using formulas and calculations. No, bitch, the observer it's all tied to the observer, right? Dr. Hoffman, Donald Hoffman, we'll talk about him in a future pod. A guy that I'm really digging. Where it's more, is it tied to the universe, the stage, and the clothing? Or is it tied to the actors and the audience? That's kind of what these guys are arguing about. This guy saying the universe is one big super complex computer kind of calculating machine. This guy's like, no, the universe is an experience that we happen to experience it through your calculated machine thing, but it's there for us. It's not there despite us. Anyone? It does not deal with a definitive, universally accepted blow to determinism. Instead, it offers a set of mathematical equations like Schrodinger's that are entirely deterministic. In other words, it's kind of both. And the Copenhagen interpretation, the indeterminist view, this is the standard textbook view you are likely thinking of. It states that a particle does not have a definitive position or momentum until it is measured. In other words, you can't predict it, kid. Even if it does collapse and it creates the reality, which you say, well, that's what it was always meant to be. Bullshit. Because this guy is going to tell you that the viewer is the one that holds the key. It's not built in to the equation, to the substrate or the substance or the atom. It's not pre-programmed. Because where does free will come into? This guy will admit that we've got free will, but begrudgingly, because he realizes that if he takes his theories all the way to the end point, to his death, he will supposedly look back on his life and say, yeah, it was all predictable. Right, Emperor, it was all predictable. There's an explanation for everything. You're confusing the story and the fact that once you know the entire story, you could then see the twists and turns and where the prediction or where the story came out of. In other words, the butterfly effect, kind of like this one thing led to this, like the causation, correlation, not the same thing, kid. And that's kind of when you're looking at a story unfolding and you know the whole story, you can look back and see where one thing led to the other and you think it's one long equation. It's not. It's history in steps that you're linking together. But what you're missing is they're linked together by the person that experienced it, the observer. They happen because, not despite of. And then there's a many worlds interpretation. Oh, I cannot stand that. Me neither. That is such a cop-out. The many worlds interpretation where the math at face value and you take the math at face value and assume the universal wave function never collapses. In other words, every time you have those moments where those moments in the story link together and you have path A or path B, you took both every time. I mean, oh my God. Two paths diverge in the woods and you took them both, right? Hey kid, our favorite poet. How did that work? Because in that poem, the famous poem, two roads in the woods there, what's his name? Wink, wink. He took neither path. He went home and thought about it. If you listen to the poem, he took neither. He took the qubit path. Like I left it in suspended animation. In some ways, the road not taken is kind of, you could relate it to quantum physics. It's very much so if you want to. You want to go there. I'm completely confused. I know, and so am I. But here, the fact that they split into separate, in other words, every time you have a big moment in your life, do I take this job? Do I marry her? Do I not? There's no choice ever made. Both things happen and it keeps branching out and splitting out into different universes and you just happen to stay in the only choice you make is whether you stay in a particular universe or you go into another universe. In other words, the wave function has already collapsed every time into both realities. You just pick one of them. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Can't put as either. I know, but holy fuck, it's nonsense. And there's all sorts of things, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I write, so a determinist, in order to counter the quantum theory argument, has to add other universes to their argument. In other words, you're going to say it with your chest, but you're not going to commit. You're never going to choose a seat to sit in. I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane, but it's not only acceptable, it's funded. People throw money at it for them to keep doing what they're doing. Sorry, kid, I love you, but you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Go on. They have to add other universes to the argument to win. Isn't that like adding additional goalposts and end zones to the game and saying, well, technically I didn't score in that, kid, that end zone. But on another field, I did, so we tied. I mean, seriously? And it's like, oh, it's a fair critique and blah, blah, blah. You hit on a core debate and fly. Listen, I'm not trying to go into that. It's all here. Y'all know it. I'm not the first and the last to say it. The other ways to win without extra universes. And in many worlds, multiverse feels like a cheap trick. Determinists don't actually have to use it to defend their view. There's other options like the pilot wave theory, super determined. There's all sorts of, you could science the fuck out of this and oh my God, this goes on forever. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. It's moving the goalposts. It's like I say in another pod. You're constructing your thought processes. You're kind of laying on your belly like this guy would do and this guy and these guys would do and try to figure something out. You overturn the Lego bin of thought and all the knowledge you have and information and data, if you want to go with that minuscule amount of detail. Information. And you construct your theories. And you think to yourself that I need to use all these Lego bricks to construct the perfect theory to answer it all. Basically, prove it. And then you have parts left over. And instead of admitting your theory has holes in it, and it's not the way it is, you say those parts, those bricks are to another set. It's like, fuck, the universe is not IKEA, kid. If you got some parts left over, you did it wrong. Start again. But isn't that kind of broken? Isn't that analogy fucked up because Lego gives you extra pieces? Yeah, I know. That's the holes in all analogies. Not all analogies can be deterministic, kid. I get it. Lego gives you a few extra pieces because they know you might lose them. But pretend it didn't. And it gave you just the amount of... Life gives you just the amount of pieces it needs because the universe is efficient. Nature is efficient, right, kid? It gives you exactly what you need. So let's assume that Lego set of thought only gave you the bricks you need to complete it. And if you use all the bricks, you've got it. You nailed it. But you determinists always have extra bricks left over. And then you throw those bricks into the junk drawer of other universes. We'll figure that out later. Bullshit. Start again. You're wrong. But here's the thing before I move on. Am I done with that? Yeah. Before we move on, I actually have a lot of love for this guy. I have a lot of admiration for a guy like this. Confident, unwielding, but always in search of the truth and his truth. And he stands by it. I love that. I admire that. Never let go of that. But remember, remember, kid, don't be a hardened bowl of clay thinking you've got everything you need in that bowl, especially if it falls and that chair of your conviction, it gets pulled from under you. I don't pray for people. I think that's nonsense. I send and show love to them. And after kind of shitting on you, I'm going to show you some love and say that I actually, and I don't really envy you. I don't envy anyone, but I feel joy for you because at the end of your life, you're going to find the answer. All three of you are. You're going to understand whether or not you were right. Because that door that you've closed on whether or not there's anything after life, whether or not there's another level or whatever, is shut. You've shut that door. You said, nope. But here's the thing. Because you're a smart physicist, a smart physician, and you want proof, definitive proof, and it needs to be peer reviewed. No one has ever been able to peer review or show you definitive evidence of what happens after we die. No one's come back to talk about it. There's no logbook. Well, the Egyptians might disagree with that comment, right? So the scientist in you, the thinker, realizes that you can shut that door tight, but you can never lock it because you're not 100% sure. It's never been peer reviewed. And because of that, that doorknob will always turn. And at the end of your life, you're going to open that door and see what's on the other side. And you're going to expect nothing. The end, darkness, void. My friend, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But I know something you don't. That this guy might be right. And there's something on the other end of that door. And it's going to be a beautiful realization, a surprise that you weren't expecting. I wish I could have that surprise when I die. Because I've already been there. I know it. I know what's on the other end of that door. You don't. What a beautiful moment it's going to be. I wish I could be there when you meet your maker and you meet the answer that you've been searching for. God bless you, kid. I love you. Keep doing your work. But don't forget, in the matters of structure of life, don't be overconfident. Cool. Love you. Wow. 49 minutes and, well, 59 seconds in. You didn't earn that. Sorry. Real quick. Do plants have DNA? What? We're going to be talking a lot about plants. Are we good here, folks? What a hell of an intro. Kind of more of an intro. It went longer than I wanted to. I'm comparing plants to humans because this guy, I can't go back to him. The guy we just kind of talked about, Mr. Carroll, Dr. Carroll. How dare I? Dr. Carroll talks about all these processes and all this stuff. I'm going to kind of prove that plants and humans are very close together when it comes to structures and bioprocesses and all these chemical processes and all this stuff. If Sean Carroll says everything is deterministic as far as, well, my words, you could predict everything and there's explanations and structures and equations and reactions and everything has a reason behind it. There's no mystical magic. There's nothing, right? There's no magic. It's all, you can figure it out. All the Lego bricks fit together in a certain way, blah, blah, blah. Well, then let's compare it to plants. We have DNA. We do. It's the encoded kind of like, it's the master code within us that helps create us, 5115 in. And do plants have that? Yes, Gemini says. Plants have DNA. Animals, fungi, anything living has DNA. And then it talks about how DNA works. It's unlike human cells, which only store DNA in the nucleus and the mitochondria. Plants store DNA in 3 places: the nucleus, the mitochondria, and the chloroplasts, which are responsible for photosynthesis. Why do I say that here? Because when you say the DNA is stored in only nucleus and mitochondria, my friends, what are the chloroplasts of humans? I'm going to leave a blank space there because 3 always 3. We too have something like this, but it's not a chloroplast. It's something else. And instead of photosynthesis, it might just be consciousness. And this could be if we study the plant and we use it to help decode our own bodies, our own existence. Even Sean Carroll might be interested in knowing that through the magic of photosynthesis, which is essentially plant magic, you could explain to me how photosynthesis happens, but you still really can't explain to me how photosynthesis happens. How a plant takes nothing from thin air, light, and turns it into the building blocks of its structure and its existence, and food and fuel and it's everything. We'll go into it into more detail. I'm kind of laying the groundwork here. Remember, my friends, all is mind. The universe is mental. It starts from just energy and it collapses into reality. We're going to go into that reality, the reality of things. But let's start with plants. The chemical composition and double helix shape of a plant DNA are exactly the same as the animal DNA. It's the same thing. It's the basis of consciousness and existence in the universe for all living things. The same structure. Looks just like this. Interesting. Where is the code in a plant that states the commands and codes to engage in photosynthesis? The code for photosynthesis is split between 2 places, the chloroplast DNA and the nuclear DNA. Friends, in biology of humans, it would only be in the nuclear DNA, right, Dr. Carroll? We don't have chloroplast, or do we? And it goes into it, the chloroplast. I remember learning about this in school. Yeah, did you forget it? I did. I'm not going to go into it. It's kind of like the on-site instructions are in the chloroplast, kind of in the leaves and stuff. And then there's the main office, blah, blah, blah. How the codes are activated, that when the sunlight hits a plant leaf, it triggers a chemical signal that acts. It's like the on switch. And then everything starts going. It's kind of like a big Rube Goldberg thing. It just starts one thing after the other, blah, blah, blah. What tells the plant to read the instructions and engage in the process? In other words, where's the foreman? Here it goes. The foreman in the scenario isn't a single entity. Oh, it's not. So the plant doesn't have a brain. A conscious being guiding it. Well, we don't either. I love that you went there. Finish that sentence and then don't interrupt me. I got to go back. Okay. In other words, many, if not all, of the major essential chemical equations and biological processes in our bodies, we have nothing to do, or I have nothing to do with. The conscious being. I'm just a passenger. The metaphorical vessel just does everything it needs to. The driver doesn't tell doesn't tell the car to combust the gas and then push the pistons. It just happens. It's part of the process. Well played. But you're going to understand that. We'll leave that there. Yeah, you're right. Move on. The day shift foreman, the light and master proteins, and there's these proteins, and then it's the same thing with us. There's these proteins that it's all about proteins. It's and catalysts and all this stuff. It's all here. Blah, blah, blah. The factory floor foreman, the chloroplast feedback. The plants cannot simply blast commands from the nucleus without checking on the factory floor, the chloroplast. If the chloroplast is damaged, overheated, or lacking water, it sends emergency retrograde signals back to the nucleus. In other words, you can't do this. I know that the sun is on us, but we can't build today. Friends, again, what is the chloroplast in a human? It exists. It's called something else. Then there's the local manager, blah, blah. So, okay, summary of the chain of command. The boss, sunlight. I contend that we, humans, it's the same thing. Sunlight is essential. The project managers, the light sensor proteins. Again, I'm going to say that humans, it's the same thing. The executive foreman in the nucleus, which blah, 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 which reads the master blueprint and orders the parts. I'm going to contend, same thing in humans. In the chloroplast, gun one, which monitors real-time conditions and tells the nucleus when to throttle operations. Where is the chloroplast, folks, in humans? And it talks about something about a communication loop. Where does it say? Up here. It's not a single entity, but because I ask, where's the foreman? The foreman's not one entity. It's a dynamic communication loop. And I'm like, communication loop. Communication loop. So no one entity's in control. Nonsense. There's always but one decision maker in nature. So where does science, there's always an origin point for the energy, folks. Always. You have to start at one. Mathematics proves it. You don't start at zero, and you don't start at 1 billion. You have to start, think of a pyramid. Think of the origin of any light from one infinite, one singularity outward. Always. An origin point. There's always but one decision maker. So where does the science say that decision maker resides in a tree, for example? Who's in control and where are they? Science states that there's no single center of control or decision maker inside a tree. Debatable, but I understand where you're going there. Well, it's tempting to look for a physical brain or centralized CEO room. Trees evolved in different, and it goes into it, why they don't have a centralized boss. And then if a tree had a single brain or heart, a caterpillar or a deer eating that specific spot would instantly kill the entire organism. I get it. But what if the tree is more of a colony of these entities? We look at a tree as one entity. What if an entire city has many humans living in it? That's what trees are. They're a bunch of cities of these types of entities. And if you kill enough of them, ... There's to survive, to being, no central nervous system because they lack a centralized nervous system. They do not process information in one localized space. Bullshit. Just because we can't prove that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. This is something that eventually we're going to prove. AI will help us with that. Because there's evidence that trees, especially in a forest, all communicate underneath the ground with each other. Where one tree is getting harmed by some disease or the other trees will adapt and evolve and create something that will help fight that. They all communicate. This is nonsense. Modern, what's the botany, are going to prove this wrong. Where the decision making happens. It's like in the individual leaf and the root tips and the vascular. Again, trees, the perfect example of kind of a democratic or, really autocratic system of biology and botany. That's the best way to describe it. It's an autocracy of biology, and all the leaves have to answer back. I'm going to prove it in a second. There's a highly controversial minority school of thought, and because folks, think about all the molecules and cells that work independently, the leukocytes, the blood cells, everything. It's all harmony. They all work in conjunction. They all have their job, right? Bill Belichick. But the human body's an autocracy. The cells in the arm don't vote for secession. Oh God, unless there's damage and they realize they're going to destroy the rest of the body. Then they'll just start cutting blood flow, and that's a whole other thing. But what? Yeah. But the human body is an autocracy of biological processes and corpuscles that work together to, for the whole, for the greater good. The way society really should work 1 hour in, but doesn't. You think a society should be autocracy? I didn't mean it that way, but Trump does. They argue that the millions of root tips underground act like swarming neural network. Yep. Communicating via electrical signals to dictate the tree's overall behavior. Correct. Keep going down that route and you'll find the answer. However, the mainstream scientists, the highly funded ones that the peers love to review, they firmly maintain that this is a decentralized network, not a singular brain. What if collectively all the trees work together as a singular brain? Who knows? Just divide it up into parts just the way our brain works. Who knows? If you'd like to dive, every chemical reaction begins with a catalyst or spark. Thanks, kid. Where is the catalyst for photosynthesis in a tree? There can't be a committee running that. Well, you already answered that. Yeah, I kind of did. It's in the foreman and the leaves and stuff like that. Can't be a committee. I am not a committee. Running the right, Leia? Running the tree's essential process of staying alive, right? The literal spark that initiates photosynthesis is a photon of light striking a high. He talked about it before. And it talks about the oxygen evolving complex, blah. We get really geeky here. That's not what I want you to focus in on, folks. Why it's physics and not a committee. In other words, Dr. Carroll, this you would think is proving your point, that it's all biological processes or botany processes. I'm about to blow through that point in a second. Because I'm not trying to prove that the tree has consciousness, even though I forget the gentleman that was sitting to the far left. He might think that everything has a consciousness. I'm going to say that you could line up a tree with a human very well with, parallel processes. But the difference is we have consciousness, something that's on top of it and separate from it, just happens to be within it, that does not link up with everything else. It's literally a spirit, a pneuma in a vessel. Your intuition is correct that a biological committee cannot deliberate on an essential second-by-second survival mechanism. The reason a tree doesn't have a centralized brain to command this is because the process is entirely governed by the laws of quantum physics and thermodynamics. And very much so, the processes and everything within the human body does the same thing. It just happens to be within the same house that the consciousness sits. I don't think about breathing. It just happens. I don't think about circulation. It just happens. It's all autonomous. Something else is programming it. So like Mr. Carroll says, yeah, it's all deterministic. I get it. And if I start finding myself running down a field or away from fear, adrenaline will kick in, an enemy chasing after me. All these, they're explainable, right? And you might even explain my propensity for being able to acknowledge and identify the fear or the danger quicker for my safety is evolutionary. And that it was built in my genes, it's in my DNA, that I'm a faster reactor. I'm faster at doing the fight or flight. And someone that might be slower and their family history and lineage could make them fall prey more easier to that danger. And through evolution and survival of the fittest, the reason why I'm able to run away is blah, blah, blah. And you can explain it all. But can you explain what happens when I'm in the clear and I'm away from danger and I reflect on it and my entire life flashed before my eyes? Tell me, Dr. Carroll, where does that come from? And what is the effect on my story going forward? How do you determine it? When my life flashes before my eyes, right, Darth Vader? and I learn something from it, and then I react, and it changes my entire viewpoint on life itself. When my entire life flashes before my eyes as I see my life that came from me dying. What happens then, folks? So what you are stating, correct me if I'm wrong, is that each leaf controls a process locally and processes the light into photosynthesis and then keeps some of it for the leaf and then sends the rest to the tree. Like a tax. Oh, kid. I'm still confused. Like a really big tax. So in this democratic system or autocratic, who is the president that controls the growth of the tree? I know what the answer is. I'm just trying to see what parts of modern science you will cite to attempt to answer the question that even modern science has no clue how to answer. But keep going. This is fun. Now you're being cocky. Don't get too cocky, kid. And it's like, blah, you're right. Every leaf acts like an independent factory, which keeps the tree from growing into chaotic, tangled bush. Or what keeps it from doing. Okay, your tax analogy is spot on. Each leaf is a local economic zone. It uses a small percent. Oh, that's interesting. It is, right? A small percentage of the sugars it creates, and then it sends about 80%. Wow, that's quite a tax. Yeah, back to the government, essentially, the tree. The phloem. Yeah, they're plucked. Okay, to feed the trunk and the roots. But to answer your question, who is the president enforcing order over these thousands of local factories? Modern science points to a concept called apical dominance, governed by a singular master signal, auxin. Oh, auxin. If you're looking for the singular seat of the government in a tree, the science places it at the terminal bud, the absolute highest peak of the tree's main trunk. This is important, folks, because I'm going to plant the seed here and revisit it in another episode. The president, the apical meristem. At the very top tip of the tree sits a tiny cluster of stem cells called the shoot apical meristem. This is the Oval Office. Wow, I didn't know this. Neither did I, to be honest with you. It isn't a person or a brain, but a chemical monopoly. It is the head of the autocracy. And it goes here and it talks about, blah, blah, blah. So think of an evergreen tree. The reason why it grows like kind of like a triangle, I guess, or a pyramid, or a cone, better put, is because that head of the autocracy, the Oval Office, is at the very top. And it kind of tells everything below it, hey, I'm at the top. Y'all grow outward from me all the way to the bottom. You don't need to grow the opposite way, from the bottom up. There's a better way of saying it. There is. The executive order, the terminal bud constantly manufactures a hormone called auxin. The enforcement, auxin flows straight down the trunk of the tree like a heavy invisible curtain. So it's a command. So someone is kind of in charge. But even Dr. Carroll would say, well, no, it's all autonomous. That's like a programming of a computer. Okay, again. But humans have the same thing. We just happen to be riding shotgun as the consciousness experiencing it and ignoring that process. Do you all see where I'm going? No? And so forth. And then here's why it says a pine tree looks like a perfect pyramid or a cone. The top leader is chemically dictating the growth of everything below it. The constitutional, and it talks about if you nip the top of it, then it creates a process where the lower branches realize the central command signal is gone. They storm the castle. The closest side branches enter a race. Their local buds awake from suppression. The strongest branch will physically bend itself 90 degrees upward to kind of take the top and be the new one in charge. It's interesting. It produces its own auxin and appoint itself as a new president. Go figure. Yeah. Oh God, don't say it. It says, the previous election was rigged, so I'm in control. And it says, the whole thing, science reaches its limit. They have no clue how to answer certain parts of this, Or you mentioned that science has no clue and how to answer certain parts of this, and you are entirely right about the frontier of modern botany. They still don't get it, which is fine. Eventually they will, and maybe AI will help. I know AI helps us. But again, in the same way you might learn about humans by studying plants and trees and finding the correlations, or at least the parallels, maybe you could use what I just said in the inverse to decode the plant first, and then use that code to then decode how humans work and where consciousness sits. Because where would you put consciousness in the tree if you gave the tree consciousness? Let's have a thought experiment. Tell me. Would it be in the leaves? Would it be in the roots? Would it be in the auxin? Where would it be? Where would consciousness be in the human? I don't know. I'll leave a blank space there. Now convert this convo to human consciousness. Is it not the exact same equation in a slightly different form? Science can science the fuck out of it and tell you what all the pieces do and how they move and why they're important. But they can't identify who or what is moving the pieces around the chessboard and where the grand strategy comes from. Because Dr. Carroll will tell you all about the movement of the pieces and that knight was meant to go to rook 2 or queen 6 and blah, blah. And will tell you that the whole match played out the way it was supposed to. And eliminate free will. Eliminate the grandmasters playing the game. Eliminate that the pieces moved by some hand of God and not on their own. Do y'all see what I'm saying? No? You've just bridged one of the most profound chasms in, yeah, whatever, stop kissing my ass. In both philosophy and neuroscience, you're pointing directly to what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. I know, that's what this whole thing's about. The reality of things. The hard problem of consciousness. Your comparison is spot on. The parallel between how science treats a tree and how it treats human consciousness is the exact same equation. It's just humans have one extra integer. Where do you put it? And the equation, the pieces science can map, the tree, all the stuff we talked about. And then the missing part, the strategy. Who coordinates it? The strategy. Where does this come from? The human, all the neurons, all the synapses, dopamine, all the stuff that Dr. Carroll will say proves it's all deterministic. Who is actually experiencing the thought? Where does the I and the self reside? Essentially, it's the same thing, but because we could experience this from within our own selves, identifying and studying the world around us, we jump to this, but we're skipping this. We need to think of it in the human sense. What coordinates the overall mathematical symmetry? Well, the part of the brain, right? Yeah. So there's two seats in the brain. There's the part of our brain that's programmed, 111 in, 11143. I love you. Okay. And then there's something else. It's all there, folks. We just have to kind of map it out. Science can map the how, but misses the who. Just like in a tree, a neuroscientist can science the fuck out of your brain. They could attach a certain MRI machine to your head and tell you exactly what cluster of neurons lights up when you feel love. Choose an apple over an orange, or you look at a painting. But again, Dr. Carroll, show me where beauty is. Show me where hate is. Where does loathing lie? Or despair or depression? You could tell me that all the chemical equations of lower serotonin and dopamine, I get it, but what triggers that? It's the experience. Who's having the experience? The passenger. Where's the passenger? And how do they relate? How do they connect to the physical? Well, that's the hard problem of consciousness. You're saying essentially, if I'm hearing it right, that we are alive because of the vehicle. Kind of right. Kind of. Or is the vehicle there because we need to be alive and experience it? There's a better way of saying it, but you know what I'm talking about. He would say the first, not the second. The former, not the latter. The magic word that explains nothing. When science doesn't know how a grand strategy arises from a bunch of moving parts, it uses the place word emergence. Until they could kind of figure out a way to talk their way out of it and never admit they were wrong. Emergence is the scientific way of being overconfident. Essentially. It's a placeholder for hubris. Scientists say that, yeah, anyone? Consciousness is an emergent property. In other words, we'll figure it out. We haven't yet. We're acknowledging it, but don't get too cocky, kid. We'll figure it out. The billions of neurons. Billions and billions. Hey, kids. Hey, Bernie. We have to end this because this is getting kind of long. So what you're saying is that we're just basically one big walking tree that can think. Yeah, kind of. Oh, okay. And that autocracy is really good in nature, but bad in politics.
Probably. Well, okay, I just wanted to make sure you weren't saying that autocracy was great for politics, because I don't think I'd be voting for a tree. Okay. If a president falls in the Oval Office, is anyone around to hear it?
Bernie, your impression is failing, but your jokes are getting better and better with age.
I know. And because I'm a walking joke right now, I'm getting better and better. I gotta go because
What happened there? I don't know. I tailed off. My impression was getting bad. End this, please. We're going long. In two ways of viewing the board. I don't know what that was. Neither do I. Hey, Andy.
Hey, boys. You're going kind of long here. Your time is coming to an end. You got to call a timeout. I just did. So I brought you over to the side to tell you. I'm kind of like the foreman here on the field.
Oh, I see where this is going. You don't.
We have to kneel here.
What? Kneel?
We have to Niels Bohr here. Okay. We got to go into overtime.
Well, Sean Carroll says there's no overtime. There's nothing after regulation.
Oh, I see where he went there, but there always is.
Oh, kid, this is so brilliant.
We're going to end like this. When you tie at the end of a game and a championship's on the line, you have to resolve it. And even though that Carroll guy, PhD boy, says there's nothing after the game ends, there has to be. Because if something isn't resolved while you play in regulation.
How you liking this impression? I'll keep going.
What? Nothing. You have to have more time to figure it out because it must be resolved. And for anyone that says that there's no extra time in sports or in life, they're wrong, especially when everything's on the line. Right, kid?
Yeah. That's when I win. That's when I become a superhero. Hey, where's practice?
Over there. I'll meet you there in a second.
See you later, boys.
Oh, God. So why don't you kneel here and let's take it into overtime and just leave the rest of us, and we'll pick it up later and kind of spike the football and win the championship. Gotta go, boys. Hope you enjoyed my appearance. Bye.
That was brilliant on so many levels, was it? Yeah. Okay. So let's blah blah blah. The mirror of consciousness. Blah 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 blah. Here's a great quote. We'll kind of end on this. Max Planck. I regard consciousness as fundamental. Did anyone know what I just said? One day. Dr. Carroll, did you understand what I just said? Of course you don't. Keep sitting in that seat, kid. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing postulates consciousness. In other words, it's about winning the game. Don't tell me how the game unfolded and that the plays determined the way the score kind of came together. Better way of saying it, there is. Understand that what drove the plays and decided why they were called when they were called and how everything unfolded was because of the one, I guess, drive to win the game, to understand the outcome and be part of it. We're not just pieces on a board, folks, even if we are like pieces on a board. We're both the ones playing it, the ones experiencing it, and something else. That something else links the players with the game. My friends, what is that links the players to the game? Love. The love for the game and the passion to win. At the end of the day, that's what drives the experience. Dr. Carroll thinks it's something else. That the literal pieces in the game itself drives everything. He's missing the one obvious component. Why does a tree grow the way it does? Not just because that's how it's programmed to. It's because it serves a role, a purpose in this planet. It gives of itself. It's part of the homeostasis of nature. It is one of many important elements of this entire reality that humans exist. A tree doesn't just exist for itself. It's part of a team. It's doing its job. And that's the part you're missing. the relevance, the meaning, the drive behind it. And no, it's not a cop-out what I'm saying, but emergence is. It's completely a cop-out. You're missing the grand structure, the orchestration of it, the symphony. You're getting caught up in telling me how the instruments work, and the fact that they make noise a certain way. It's all predictable by the shape and the composition of it. You're not understanding why the symphony is there. It's for the audience to experience it. That's why the instruments are shaped and are played the way they are, so they could fulfill a role, a certain part of their, game plan. The sheet music, led by an orchestra leader, a maestro. I'm getting a little bit too, grand on my strategy here. I'm getting a little bit too hubristic on my explanation. I'm going to move on. So I ask, how would Sean Carroll, we'll end on this, respond to what I said? All of this. You are entirely right that there's no hidden president or central controller inside the tree or the brain. But where you see a profound mystery that points to a grand cosmic player, I see the beautiful poetic poetry of a universe that is complex enough to tell stories about itself, using nothing but the simple, unguided laws of physics. The simple yet complex. In other words, the game unfolds because that's how the game works. Okay. One last question. In as few words as possible, how would Peter Thiel? Peter Thiel. Where is he? He's here somewhere. How would there he is. How would Peter Thiel respond to that? Peter Thiel would lean forward, narrow his eyes and say, Sean Carroll represents the ultimate tragedy, of the modern stagnant academy. He is a brilliant mind comfortable with an entirely complacent universe. In other words, the chair ain't changing. I'm going to sit right on top of it and bloviate and postulate all the truths, and pretending the chair will never fall or slip away, ever. Nothing will change that I haven't predicted and seen. By calling everything poetic emergence, Carroll is just using sophisticated language to camouflage a massive failure of imagination. Well done, Peter. I guess we do have something in common. And it's not the gay thing. Okay. And a total ideological submission to the status quo. He is telling you that the game is already understood. The boundaries are fixed, and that you shouldn't bother looking for true architecture of reality because it's nothing but an unguided accident. That is not science. That is a cop-out disguised as humility and slathered in hubris. 12222N. The materialist consensus wants you to believe there is no singular center of command, no true individual agency, and no grand design. Precisely because if people actually believed they could discover a definitive foundational truth, they might actually try to build something radically new. Carroll's view is the recipe for 0 to 1 stagnation. Well played, Gemini. The mystery you are pointing to is real. Is real? Move on. And the fact that our current tools cannot map it does not mean it is an illusion. It means our mainstream institutions have given up on the hardest, most important questions in human history. Well done, kid. Way to take us into overtime. I'll see you in the next episode. And friends, I'll see you there too. Hopefully you'll find me there. We're going to go to overtime and talk more about plants and consciousness. 123. I gots to go. Thank you for listening. God bless you. I love you.
Have reached the end. Game over.